Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. How beautiful. Fire and Ice is the name of the poem that I have selected for us to analyze together today. As we will see, this is a poem that has plenty of lessons hidden in it. Lessons for you, for me, that if we are able to listen to, we can understand how to become a happier person, a better person, how to progress on the spiritual path. So join me today as we analyze these important lessons in this beautiful poem. When you live here now, you are connected to things around you. Suddenly you realize life is a mystery. There is joy in small things that before you didn't even care to look, like the flowers, for example, or the air brushing against your skin, the sound of the leaves, the sound of a river flowing, the sound of a bird singing outside. These are things that in the normal thought-based state of consciousness you are completely unaware of. Hello there, my name is Alex. Welcome back to another video. This time we have poetry, the poetry of Robert Frost, who was an American poet. And I have selected one poem, which is probably among Robert Frost's best known poems. It's a beautiful poem. It's called Fire and Ice. And what we'll do today is I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to try to analyze to see what are the lessons that are hiding in this beautiful poem. Fire and Ice. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. So the first lesson in this poem is that the planet Earth will die eventually. As I understand the context of the poem, I think that Robert Frost had a friend who was an astronomer, and they were having this conversation about the end of the world, basically the end of the planet Earth. What were the likely scenarios in which the planet Earth will eventually die? And the discussion that they had was that, as the poem says, there are basically two likely scenarios. One is that the planet ends in fire, I don't know much about astronomy, but I think that the sun is a star that is growing and will continue to grow until eventually it will swallow the planet Earth. Thus, the world will end in fire. Even when this is the most likely scenario, there is a second scenario, which is that for whatever astronomical reason, the planet Earth gets pushed out of the solar system and drifts away in empty space, and given that it no longer has the warmth of the sun, eventually it freezes to death, basically. And this is what he is talking about here in the poem on a superficial level. He's talking about these two scenarios. Now, if we dig a little bit deeper into the interpretation of this, he's talking about fire and ice as the main forces of destruction. So if we take this as a symbolism for your life, we can maybe see that this can also be a cautious message, a message of caution to you and to me, telling us that if we don't learn to have a healthy relationship with our internal processes of fire and ice, then we run the risk of these destroying our world, or symbolically speaking, destroying our happiness, our spiritual joy. Now, what does fire and ice represent? Desire is a trap. It keeps you trapped in the future. Here in the poem, Robert Frost makes the connection between fire and desire, and between ice and hate. Hate we can better describe as aversion, which is probably a concept that aligns better with spiritual traditions. So we have these two concepts of desire and aversion, which means wanting something or wanting to avoid something. In the normal state of consciousness, which is the waking state, I think I have previously made a distinction between 4 states of consciousness that the human being is capable of embodying. There are 2 states of sleep and then 2 states of wakefulness. In sleep, we have what's called dreamless sleep, which is the state where you are not dreaming about anything. And then we have the state that's called dream state. I think it has a fancier name than that, but let's just call it dream state for simplicity. And then when you're awake, usually we think there's only one wakeful state, but actually, if we pay attention, we realize that there are actually 2 different wakeful states. One is the normal, ordinary state of consciousness, which consists of thought. It consists of you having a voice in your head that's commenting on things that are happening around you, inside you. Can you recognize this voice? It's the chatter that's in your head that's constantly talking and commenting. And if you think to yourself, what is this guy talking about? What is this? A voice in my head? That's exactly it. Can you recognize it? Probably, if you're like most people, you can't, you see? Because that's one of the characteristics of this state of wakefulness, is that it's a mind-dominated state. It's a thought-based state. And desire and aversion are two forces, very strong forces in you, that keep you trapped in this state of consciousness. And when you are trapped in this state of consciousness, you are someone who has a name, who has things. You identify yourself with the things that you have. You identify yourself with your body. And this becomes just your little prison that has its bars made of thought. The voice in your head that tells you who you are and what you have and what you want is also part of this state of consciousness. And one of the characteristics of this state of consciousness is that it is future-based. In other words, when you are in this state of consciousness, we can say two main things happen. One is you are always thinking, and two, you are living in the future. You consider the future more important than the present moment. That's what desire and aversion create. They keep you trapped in the future. They keep you trapped in your mind. And when this happens, your thoughts become like a veil, like a pair of glasses, tinted glasses, through which you see everything that's happening around you. And eventually you forget that you're wearing these glasses, and that's when life starts becoming dull and unfulfilling and depressing, and the joy is lost. The sense of mystery of being alive goes away. And many people live in this state for many, many years without ever realizing that there is the possibility in every human being to take a leap, to progress to a different state of consciousness. Which brings us to lesson number 3. A higher state of consciousness is possible. And this state of consciousness is one that we can call presence-based rather than thought-based. In this state of consciousness, we can say thought is absent. There's no thought. And when there's no thought, there's no desire. When there's no thought, there's no future. As such, all that there is this present moment, as it is. When you live here, now, you are connected to things around you. Suddenly, you realize life is a mystery. There is joy in small things that before you didn't even care to look, like the flowers, for example, or the air brushing against your skin, the sound of the leaves, the sound of a river flowing, the sound of a bird singing outside. These are things that in the normal thought-based state of consciousness you are completely unaware of. Because desire is at the forefront of your mind. Everything revolves around wanting something. I want this. I want to avoid that. I want to get this job. Therefore, I need to do this. I need to work. I need to go do this. I need to prepare. Or I want to avoid this. I want to avoid being poor. Okay, so I need to work very hard. And when that happens, we hypnotize ourselves. We fall under the trap which is our mind convincing us that the future is more important than now. But in reality, that's the reversal of the truth. In reality, the present moment is all you ever have, all that there ever is. If you think about it, your life consists of this moment only. It's just one moment that extends in eternity. Your life is always now. And the illusion that comes when you think that the future is more important, the illusion that gets created when that happens, is that you are incomplete. There is a sense of incompleteness. I still need something to be happy. What is it? And then your mind says, maybe you need another car. Okay, I need another car, but I can't get it now. So let me think about the future, because that's when I'll be able to get the car that I'm missing. It makes me think of a quote by Zen master. He said, "The path is easy for those who have no desires." So what's the opposite of having desires? But before we do that, I just want to say that thank you to everyone that has supported my channel so far. It's been greatly appreciated. And please continue to support the channel. You can do this by liking the videos, by commenting, by joining our discussions, and sharing your experiences, your views in the comment section below. So what's the opposite of having desires? And the last lesson concerns the depth of life. The opposite starts with being here, being present, being in an intimate connection with what's happening around you. And when you are a presence-based human being, when you are in this fourth state of consciousness, you are very sensitive to things around you. It's a state of alertness. It reminds me of something that Krishnamurti said. It is only when the mind is free from the old that it meets everything anew. And in that, there is joy. Can we try that? Can you just, for 30 seconds, try to be as alert as possible in regards to your surroundings, to the things that you can see? Can you pay attention to the colors, the textures, the things that you can see, the lights, the shadows? Can you pay attention to any sounds that are here? Nature sounds, human sounds, human-made objects. And as you do this, your mind quiets down. And when that happens, you are ready to understand that there's a dimension of depth in the present moment that you didn't know existed. Let's use the symbol of the cross for a second. The cross has two lines. One is the horizontal line, which we can say symbolizes the horizontal dimension of your life, the dimension of time, of things, of events, of yesterday and your story, what happened to you when you were younger. And here we also have your profession, your family, your roles as a dad, as a mom, as a boyfriend. And we also have the future, your hopes, what you hope to achieve. And that's okay. It's okay to have that. But we need to balance that with the other dimension, which is the dimension of the depth of life. As long as the depth dimension is missing in your life, nothing will ever be enough for you. And that's what is the main problem with desire and aversion, that they can't give you what you're after. Because what you truly are after is finding the depth of life, finding the depth of who you are. But of course, your mind doesn't know that such a thing exists. And your mind tries to convince you that what you actually want is in the future. It's a car, an orange sports car or whatever. And then you use desire, future, as a substitute for something that you are missing, which is the depth of life, which is something that can only be found now. There's no other place where you can find the depth of life. You cannot find it in the future. You cannot find it in the past. You cannot find it. It's not to be found in the top of a mountain. It's to be found now, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. All that's required from you is your attention. And when your attention is here entirely, you're aware of things around you. You are someone who goes out and can feel the freshness of the air brushing against your face. And can feel joy when that happens. Or the sun against your skin. Or the sound of the leaves. That's what we are aiming for. Another characteristic of being present is that you can feel your body. You can feel the fact that you are an embodied being and that you have a physical vehicle. And you can feel your hands. You can sense the aliveness that is in your hands. You can feel your arms. You can feel your legs and your feet. And your breath. And you can also feel your stomach and your emotions. That's usually where your emotions live, in your stomach. And you can also feel your chest. And you can feel the fact that you are alive. Suddenly you realize there's so much more depth to me than I thought. And if you continue going deeper, you start feeling the qualities, the sensations that come when you're able to get in contact with your essence, we can say that's the spiritual side of who you are. It's that part of you that's always there, that's aware. If I ask you if you're there, hello, are you there? Inside, something is gonna go and say, yes, I'm here. Yes, I can see you waving. I'm here. We can call it consciousness. We can call it awareness. And when you're conscious of consciousness, when you're aware of awareness, suddenly your mind quiets down and you can sense a joy arising from inside of you. This is what's usually called the joy of spirit. Ever new joy. It's always fresh. It never gets old. It's always there. It's a stream of energy that is in you. It's always there. It's always there in the background of any experience that you have. The reason why you don't have access to it is because your mind is making so much noise. And because your mind has convinced you and continues to convince you every single moment that the future is more important than now. And that the best way to use your time now is to plan and prepare and work for tomorrow. But guess what? There's nothing to find in tomorrow that you can't find now. At least nothing that's worth finding. So, I think that's all I have to say about this. Fire and ice, aversion and desire, two forces that keep us bound in a future-based state of consciousness. And as we have seen, I think the symbolical teaching of this is to learn to be here, live your life in the present, connected with the depth that's not only in you, but the depth that's all around you if you are there to observe and to truly inhabit whatever moment you are living. That's all for now. Thank you for listening, and I will leave you once more with this beautiful poem. Fire and ice. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice.